Alright, this is the third in the Aristocracy miniseries that's going to go over the Wanderer's Troupe in addition to the Dawn Knight Ragnvindr, since his story was closely related to the Wanderer's Troupe in a few different ways. Okay, so first off, who were the Wanderer's Troupe? Essentially, also called the Swordsman's Troupe, they were a group of traveling musicians slash warriors who fought using instruments, or their weapons doubled as instruments, however you would prefer to put it. They were composed of four main people. We have the conductor, we have Kreuzlied, we have the Dawnlight Swordswoman, and finally the harpist, also known as the lyrist, also known as the Sojourner, because he decided to take all of the names for himself. So essentially, they decided to fight against the aristocracy, and they all died. It was very tragic. Well, okay, they decided to fight against the aristocracy, which was followed by most of them dying immediately, one of them dying later, and one of them actually living for a decent bit of time and joining the rebellion. So to go on to each one, let's just start with the conductor, because there's basically no conductor lore, so he's really easy to go over. TLDR, the conductor died with the Widsith in his hands. He was the second slash first member of the group, and that's basically all we know about him. Moving on, we also have the Sojourner slash harpist slash lyrist. All of these are just referring to the same person, and he was the guy with the most lore out of the group, in direct contrast to the conductor. So from what I recall, he was the second person according to the Sojourner artifact set. And he hailed from Fontaine, where he was apparently very popular with the ladies. But then he decided to come to Mondstadt. He met a lovely singer girl, fell in love, joined with helped to create the Wanderer's Troupe, and went on adventures. They went to the Mari Travari at some point. And then, unfortunately, his beloved was chosen as the lucky maiden to throw the Ludi Harpastum ball. If you haven't watched the first video about Vennessa and the Aristocracy, I would recommend going to go watch that, because that'll talk a little bit more about what exactly that entailed. As a result of this, the Wanderer's Troupe fought against the Aristocracy, and then they all died. Great going, dude. His weapon was the stringless, which is known as such because it is, in fact, a former harp. Well, okay, it was a bow that could also be used as a harp, and after the Sojourner's death, they cut off all of the harp strings, so it can only be a bow, and that's why it's called the stringless, even though there's one string on it, since it's stringless in terms of harp strings. Yep. Alright. Moving on, we have Kreuzlied. So Kreuzlied was actually a member of the Lawrence clan who didn't agree with what they were doing, and that's not bad. And as a result, he joined up with the Wanderer's Troupe. His weapon was the bell, and he did not, in fact, die in the original assault on the aristocracy like the conductor and the lyrist did. Instead, Kreuzlied was kept alive since, he was a member of the Lawrence clan. What exactly the punishment they enacted on him is unknown, but we do know that he dipped the bell in acid, which destroyed the clock in it, and somehow the bell itself survived, despite the clock being destroyed, so I guess the metal was strong, but not that strong, and we don't ask too many questions about Genshin Impact lore in these sorts of cases. I would love to ask more questions, but it doesn't actually make that much sense, so just ignore it. Anyway, he would eventually go on to create a secret organization that would assist Vennessa during the rebellion, and 500 years later, rumor holds that this secret organization would be led by Rostam of the Knights of Favonius. That's probably accurate, because it would line up with what we know about Rostam. So he created a secret organization, he actually lived, great going, dude. And finally we have the Dawnlight Swordswoman, who wielded the flute, and apparently when she swung it through the air, it made music, but after they buried the weapon, it stopped making music. So, the next time you have somebody wield the flute, probably Jean, just think to yourself, wow, wouldn't it be nice if I could have a symphony while I was battling? I mean, you already have a lovely background music, but more symphonies. In any case, you can't, because it doesn't work anymore. So, unlike her fellow conductor and the lyrist, the Dawnlight Swordswoman, like Kreuzlied, also was not killed immediately. Instead, she, having no noble blood, was made into a gladiator and forced to fight in the arena. She only made it one fight before she was killed. However, prior to that one fight, at that time, the knight Ragnvindr, who was not yet known as the Dawn Knight, went to go visit her and basically was like, why in the world do you fight the aristocracy? And she answered, TLDR, the aristocracy suck. All of this is detailed in Ballads of the Squire, and she eventually inspired him to become the Dawnlight Ragnvindr and join the rebellion against the aristocracy, as also detailed in the flute and, more in Ballads of the Squire. She died, but apparently a nameless knight took her sword and buried it, which actually ruined the weapon. Since this is detailed in Ballads of the Squire, and it's talking about a different knight, this presumably was not Ragnvindr, but I suppose Ragnvindr could also be talking in a really weird third person. But probably not, so somebody else grabbed the sword. Let's see. Yes, on the subject of Ragnvindr, whether or not exactly he was a member of the aristocracy, the answer to that is probably not, since he talks about the aristocrats in Ballads of the Squire Volume 2 as our aristocrats, rather than saying, us, the aristocrats. So he was not a member himself. That being said, he was certainly a member of higher society in Mondstadt, since he was a knight, and didn't consider himself to be part of the, peasantry and rabble, shall we put it. That being said, he still definitely helped out Vennessa. He's known as the Dawnlight Ragnvindr, so whether the Ragnvindr clan got his name from him, or if he was just known by his last name, is also not known. That being said, since they were not a noble clan, chances are good that, like the Gunhildr clan, his name was actually Ragnvindr, and then the clan took its name from him. So I believe that is everything. Oh yes, okay, so then for Swarscene, it's just the individual weapons of the Wanderer's Troupe series. You can check those out. You can check the Wanderer's Troupe artifact set out, the Sojourner set, Ballads of the Squire, and that is about it. That being said, the Widsith, for the record, is not actually the conductor's weapon. It was a group notebook. He just happened to be holding it in his hand as he died, and the conductor should absolutely get a polearm because he deserves it, because he has no lore. But since that probably won't happen anytime in the near future, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this series, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The next Aristocracy video should be out in some amount of time. Thanks!